here we are. Welcome back to another Harbor.Church podcast. We're doing some second helpings with my friend Katie Rose. Mm-hmm. I'm Pastor Josh, and we're diving into this past week's message.
Yeah.
Seeing what we can get out of it for a round two of talking about being greedy and or a control freak. So yeah, this one hurt, and I'm just excited to hear your thoughts on it.
Fun stuff, yeah. If you missed the message, you should go back and watch it visually. I would recommend this one not as a podcast, but watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, you got to see the accompanying video
Yes.
game. Yeah.
We had our contestants, to shorten it up, were presented with a plate of flour and 2 flippers in a bowl.
The flour is molded into the shape of like a sandcastle kind of palace, just for
like
people
mound,
visualizing
yes.
it. Yeah, mound.
Yep, and they had to wear the flippers as gloves and get 5 grapes into the bowl. There were grapes in the flour. There were also grapes elsewhere.
They did not see the grapes
Yes.
in the rest of the room. They just immediately centered in on the flour.
Digging in that flour with those.
Because the goal
Flipper
was
hands.
that the plate of flour would be measured by a scale, weighed, and whichever one still had the most flour on it was the winner.
Yes.
So they assumed, walk me through this, they assumed that using these very cumbersome flippers as hands, as gloves, they had to get the grapes out of the mound of flour, which was barely on the plate. Like people that are visualizing this, they need to see.
Yeah.
Like it was precarious. It was you touch it,
filling up the whole plate if you touched it.
It was on the edges,
Yeah,
and then you touch
spill.
it and it's going to spill over.
Yep.
And so they're left with, how do I dig out these grapes in a way that leaves the most flour on the plate? Because that's what they were going to be measuring. You got to get 5 in the bowl, 5 grapes in a bowl that was set off to the side, but also got to keep all the flour, or as much flour as you can, on the plate. And so describe for our listeners, just real quick, for those who didn't get to see it, what was some of the typical results? What was the thoughts, the actions? Because we already said that there was other grapes in the room, but those guys didn't see any of those other grapes.
Yes. So basically, they all made a pretty big mess. There was no way to get the grapes in the flour without getting flour off the plate. So they were just spilling all over the place. They were doing their best to be delicate, trying to carry the plate around. They came up with some different techniques, but ultimately everybody spilled flour, and they were left basically trying to clean it up. Some of them didn't even think enough to try to clean it up, and whatever had fallen off, they left it and walked out. Our winner, who was Kathy Mealy, did the best cleanup job. Got all her grapes out and then used her remaining time to get what was left and try to scoop the flour from the table with her flipper hands onto the plate, which was fun to watch. But definitely everybody lost. They lost some flour along the way. That was part of the process. And in this, kind of the overall takeaway from the message and really the theme verse that I think sums up the overall takeaway of the message was Galatians 3:33.
Just
that feels
3:3.
wrong. 3:3. I know there are a lot of threes. Galatians 3:3, which basically says, since you've been given a new life in the Spirit, why are you now trying to become perfect on your own power?
Yeah.
That's a decent summary.
Yeah. It's the message version of
The
it.
KR.
Yes, it was good. It was good. It was a really good KR version.
The KRV.
No, but you're right on. He's asking the question, now that you're a believer,
Yeah.
why are you still trying to do everything in your own strength,
Yes.
your own power?
Yeah. So that's kind of where I wanted to start, because what we talked about in the message this weekend was basically this idea of trying to get the most out of life, get the most grapes out of your life. These generally good things that we're all going after: relationships, money, work, a home, a family, like all this otherwise good stuff. Even your relationship with God can become one of these things that are good, but we're trying to do the right thing in the wrong way. We're trying to do it on our own power instead of trusting God. So let's start there. What, whether in your life or in what you've seen in others, what are some red flags? What are some signs that you are functioning on your own power rather than in the power of the Spirit?
Oh, man, that's a great question, because it pops out in different ways for different people. If you're asking me personally,
Sure.
because I want to ask you the exact same question back. But
Well, I've never done that, so I couldn't know.
If you could imagine you making a mistake one day. For me, one of the signs, and I alluded to it in the message, at least with some of the congregations that I don't remember which services I might not have said it in, but I get angry when things don't go well because I take so much pride and so much, I would say, arrogance in trying to make sure I'm solving it because I'm doing it in my own power. I want to get it right. And part of that I say, well, man, that's just the right thing to do, right? I mean, I'm being a good Christian. I want to work hard. I want to be the best employee. I want to be the best student. I want to be the best son. And I can justify my narcissism. I can justify my arrogance of being the answer, right? Yeah. Because I can hide behind, well, I care a lot and I care so much that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm doing it. And that's why I have to be the one that has the answer. And that's what I have to be the one to be the solution. But I've also, I've learned and I've seen that it comes out in frustration and embarrassment and anger when things go wrong. And that's how I know when something goes wrong and that's my go-to reaction, then that's just a red flag that, Josh, you're operating in your own strength right now. Because if you are the hero, then you also have to be the villain every time something is bad. And we live in a broken world, so something's always going to go bad.
Yeah, it's a lot to carry.
I shared with one of the services, I didn't share with all of them, but I actually told them a specific thing. On the 4th of July, I was trying so hard to get everybody to make everybody's day good and cook food and have chairs and build a fire. And then the freaking tide came in and it came in so high.
It was tough.
That the whole beach was gone. And there's just this sliver of dry sand and hundreds of people are now pressed on and pressed up to the shoreline there to what little bit of beach was left. And my wife noticed, she's like, what is going on? Your face is all kinds of contorted, you're frustrated. Katie, I was so angry and so mad at the tide. The friggin' tide.
See, I couldn't be less in your control.
Right? And yet and she's like, why is this such a big deal to you? And I'm like, because it's messing everything up. I had planned out how everything should go. I had placed out where everything could be. I had thought of the hot dog cookers and the marshmallows and the fire starters. I mean, the hours and hours and hours I spent into planning this thing was ruined by the freaking tide. And so, I was left with nothing but my own frustration and discouragement because I had placed myself as the reason that everything has to work. So when it inevitably didn't work, now I'm left with being the reason it's not working. And if you struggle with that, so take a mom who's trying to create perfect children, right? And then when your kid isn't exactly everything you hope they'd be, you get
everything comes crashing down.
You suck and your world's over. And it's the athlete who's billed himself to be the hero of his team. Well, what happens when your team loses a game?
Yeah.
Well,
you get an injury.
Yeah. Now you're left carrying this blame of man, everything's there. And a lot of times people either get really discouraged, really insecure. Yeah. Or they get angry, and a lot of times they'll turn that anger on, well, it's not my fault. I'm perfect. Everybody else sucked, and the other players didn't perform, or the kid's dad didn't help me raise him, or the boss didn't appreciate me. And so in our pain and our frustration, we'll either lash out in anger and be mad at everybody around us. So that's one indicator if you struggle with this. Yeah. There'll be this sense of confusion. We're like, how could it go wrong? How can my family be the one that's going through a divorce? How can my job be the one that's not making enough money? How can my team be the one that loses? And you get this confusion, or you blame shift, or you just get so wrapped up in despair that you have failed. Yeah. That you become self-loathing or incredibly insecure. So, but what about you? What's that's my perspective on it. But then again, maybe other people are wired differently than me, or maybe that rings true. One of those rings true with you.
Yeah. Anger definitely isn't my go-to. I mean, the root of it is probably all the same. That's just usually not how it works itself out in me. I would tend to lean more on the sadness and withdrawing. I
was gonna say, as an Irish person, you're angry all the time.
Yeah, there's a base level anger that's normal.
So that's a good day.
Even I think when I'm operating at my best possible with God, there's this
is just low grade anger. You're like you and the Incredible Hulk. I'm always angry.
Yeah, it's just part of it.
But sadness
and withdrawing. But I think more of a tangible marker for me in my life is I know I am operating on my own strength if everything starts to feel like an obligation. And like
That's a
even
good
things
way
that
to
I
describe it,
enjoy, suddenly I'm just like,
Now it's a job.
another thing. How can there be another thing? And even like, I mean, my job is church, but even like, man, if I'm not in a good place with God and I'm trying to carry the weight, like I can dread going to church, which is my favorite thing to do. I get to be with my people and I get to sing songs and hear a message. Like there is nothing at all bad about it, but I can make it bad in my own head because I'm like, I can't believe this is on my calendar and all I want to do is sit at home alone on my couch because I am emotionally and physically exhausted because I'm trying to carry the weight of all these things. And that also transfers to relationships, like people that I love and would normally want to spend time with. When I'm not in a good place with God, I'm like, ugh, they texted me. People that I love, like I love them so much. I'm like, ugh, another text to answer. They want to hang out.
How dare they?
Yeah,
Yes.
and these beautiful things that are gifts
Just become an inconvenience.
I see as an inconvenience and an obligation.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that, a similar thing a couple weeks ago where a few of us had gone to a conference and they said, look at all the interruptions as like divine moments to like pause instead of being frustrated. And they're like, as a church person, you don't look at distractions as divine interruptions. You look at distractions as these giant problems that have messed up your agenda. And yeah, that's absolutely why I think for me, I'm frustrated. For you, you might be sad. For the other listeners, they might be confused or, you know, whatever, insecure, something like that. I mean, we all struggle with it one way or another.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that kind of leads to, so we find ourselves in that place. And I know for me, it links directly. But kind of the other half of your message was, you know, why are you doing things on your own strength? You're trying to go about the right things in the wrong way. And often how that presents itself is greed.
Yeah.
And I was really interested in talking about the verse in Luke that talks about guarding against all kinds of greed. And I think it's even what we're getting at right now is when I'm operating on my own strength, I become greedy with my time, which is a type of greed that I don't think we talk about very often. Let's talk about that first. Like, what are the types of greed? Like, beyond money, how else are we greedy?
Well, selfishness is greed.
Yeah.
And I don't think people think of that because they think greed, they think money. And granted, that's what Hollywood has done for the term, you know, greedy person. Sure. It's always a rich villain, right? There's always a super rich guy.
Scrooge.
You know, I forget his name in The Wonderful Life. The old man that, you know, kind of screws him over, right? And tries to take everything. We always pictured that villain, that greedy money grabber kind of person. Well, you can be greedy in your friendships by you always have to be the center of attention. The greedy person who won't let their friend, you know, share their pain, but they always have to be the one that has the painful thing. The selfish person who, I made the joke at church, eats the last slice of pizza. Yeah. So like there's greed that may not be at all associated with food. And that was Jesus that said that.
I think he meant money, not food.
Yeah, no, it was Jesus when he says, hey guys, be careful for all kinds of greed.
Yeah.
And I read that and I went, I think I can find greed in everybody else so quickly. Yeah. But then when it comes time to turn the mirror, to look in the mirror and turn the microscope on me and say, I mean, where am I greedy? I can justify my greed, right? Yeah. Oh, that's not really, I'm just looking out. I'm looking out for this, or I need this today.
Yeah, or being self-protective.
Yeah, I'm protecting myself, or I'm just being careful, or, well, no, when you're selfish, you want people to show you grace and give you a reason for being selfish. Yep. You know, but when somebody else is, it's like, oh, well, they're just the worst person ever. So the different types of greed, I think they show up, I think in relationships. Yeah. There's all types of different ways that, let's say in a romantic relationship, there will be people that they want affirmation and this is where I don't love the love languages. Oh, this person is, you know, their acts of service, their gifts, their, you know, words of affirmation. Well, all of those things are great, and everybody actually wants all of them.
I would like all of them all the time.
Yes,
yeah.
And then
thanks.
And then to say, well, I'm wired one way. Okay, I think I like to know how people are wired. I like to know how I'm wired. But that doesn't give you an excuse. It's not an excuse. It should just be an awakening. Like, hey, here's something you enjoy, which means you'll quickly crave it, which means left unchecked, you'll actually hoard it or
or get mad when you don't get it.
When you don't get it.
Yeah.
And in a lot of relationships, people will manipulate to get the thing that they need most. And that can be gifts, it can be sex, it can be attention, it can be flattery, words of it can be a lot of things, and the greed is there too. So one, Jesus reminds us, check yourself. Greed shows up in a lot of different ways. You can be poor and still be a really greedy person.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us miss that. And when he says to watch, and then he goes, here's an example of a guy who has everything, and so he doesn't need anything else. And on the surface, you would say, okay, where is this guy being greedy?
Right.
Because he doesn't take from anybody in the story.
Yeah, he's just working.
Yeah, at no point does the rich fool take from somebody else. In a lot of stories, you see people mistreating others.
No.
This is a rich guy who has a bumper crop, and he goes, my barns aren't big enough to hold all these crops. I'll build bigger barns, and then I'll relax and have a great retirement. And he says, I'll eat, drink, and be merry.
On paper.
Yeah, show me where that isn't the American dream.
Yeah.
Katie, show me where that isn't what everybody else wants. Man, I just want a comfortable life, buy some nice things.
Sounds nice to me.
Let's go. Full sentence. How can that be wrong? And yet God calls that person a fool. God says, you fool. He says, you're going to die and you're not going to take any of this stuff with you. And then what are you going to be left with? And then Jesus wraps up the story by saying, man, a person's a fool to be rich in earthly content and poor in eternal content. To be rich with physical wealth here, but be really empty of a relationship with God.
Yeah.
And he says that's a horrible investment. And I think if you look at that as the bookend to the story, and the other end, he says, watch out for all kinds of greed. What Jesus is saying is often our desire to fulfill our wants, that drive that you and I have to make ourselves comfortable or happy or successful or whatever, the grapes, to get the grapes, the move to get the grapes often causes us to mess up the flower, the relationship piece so badly that, in the end, you might have got your grapes.
But at what cost?
Yeah, but at what cost? Yeah. Boy, did you make a mess. Boy, did you make a mess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's where the passage and even the story that Jesus is telling is coming from. So what I wanted to ask you, though, as you heard that message, or you're sitting there, and I know you had to listen to it a couple times. So I actually, at one point during the message, like, poor Katie, she's heard this so many times. And I get to preach it. So at least I'm surprised at what comes next. You might just be sitting there going, oh my gosh. But I was looking out at the audience and I was talking about how Jesus literally said, what does it gain you to get everything and then lose it? And then he says, and then in the Bible, it says in Psalms that if you build a house and God's not in it, then all of your labor is in vain. And I thought, I knew exactly where God hit me with the church, building the church and building my family. But I'm curious, as somebody who's sitting there hearing this message on greed, did I, and I'm not asking for like your critique on my message. I mean, you can give it to me. I felt like maybe I didn't make that connection because it was so strong for me. I might have just alluded to the connection between, why would you wrestle for everything? If you gain the world and lose your soul, what did you really get?
Right.
And then to couple that with a verse that says, if God doesn't build the house, you labor in vain. I know where it was in my heart, but I'm curious, did the Holy Spirit make a connection there for you? Did you see a laboring, a building that maybe God spoke to you in a different way than he spoke to me?
Yeah.
That I didn't even say it in the message because I was like, I don't even know all the different ways and the different hearts that are hearing this that would apply. You're building something without God first. And so as good as it is to build a family, to build a career, to build whatever.
No eternal value if God's not in it. Yeah.
How did that resonate with you? What came to your mind? Did you think of something specific? Was there a more general application? Did you feel the room? Was there a sense of appreciation? What do you think the average person might think at that verse, or even in coupling it with Jesus's parable of the rich fool?
Yeah. So a couple of things come to mind for me. One is just kind of personally, where it hit me more than anything was my relationships. I think you and I are wired differently. Like, I'm definitely not a maximizer in the way that you are. I'm much more people driven.
I hate people.
Often not in a healthy way. Like that can sound like a good thing. It's usually not for me.
No, I hear you.
I am better than you, but that's for different reasons. But I was thinking, like, I'm a unmarried, single 32-year-old with no kids, which means I have space in my life for like a lot more relationships.
Okay.
Which is a wonderful thing. However, what I was kind of thinking over and praying over as I was listening to the message for like the 5th time, was like, how I can say all day that those relationships are built on God, and honestly, most of them are born out of the church. So like most of my closest relationships are with fellow Christians, and this can translate to your family or whatever, whoever's listening. But I don't know how much eternal spiritual value I'm really pouring into those relationships on an intentional, regular basis. Like it's just really easy for me to hang out with the people I like or hang out with my coworkers and just be very task oriented or be very relaxation oriented when I'm not at work with my friends and have nothing of value come out of all this time and emotion that I'm spending on these people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that.
How would somebody else see that? Somebody who's not in your exact spot, but doing the similar thing. What would that look like?
Yeah, I think you can kind of take a look at all of your relationships in life, coworkers, your spouse, your kids, your friends, your parents. How often are you investing eternal value into the time that you're spending with them? Like, do you pray together? Do you talk about your relationship with God? Are you checking in on them spiritually? Regularly, or are you just because you're close assuming everything's fine, or maybe they don't know Jesus and you've written it off and you're just assuming that's over? And
what you're not saying, and I felt like, man, if I had to go back to the second helpings, if I could have squeezed more into that message, which it didn't need to be any longer, but towards the end I used Colossians where he says, hey, now that you're a believer, start investing in the eternal kingdom instead of the earthly kingdom. Start laying up treasures in heaven instead of like here in this temporary life. And what I wanted people to hear is not that everybody has to sell everything they own and become a missionary to the remote jungles of the Amazon or something like that.
Sure.
But what God is saying is what you're saying right now. Take what you do have and invest in the eternal aspect of it. Right. So not do I have to become a monk and have no friends.
Right. I have to start fresh.
It's what can my current friendships look like invested in eternity? Like, what does it look like for me to be a son, you a daughter, a brother, a sister, a mom, a dad, a husband, a wife, whatever relationship, a boss, an employee?
Yeah.
How can I take these relationships and, to simplify it for everybody, a friendship?
Yeah.
How do I take my friendship with Katie Rose and make it more than just centered on Josh being happy because he has a friend named Katie? Like, you make me happy. You're fun to hang out with, like half the time, anyways.
It's more than I expected.
Like, I was being gracious because we're on the podcast. No, but like most people's friendships are selfish. It's greed. Like most people, I'm friends with you because you make me happy. It's you make me laugh. You're whatever. They're not really invested in friendships for the sake of, man, like what does this bring on a level beyond my own temporary happiness? And when I factor that in, am I really the kind of friend to Katie Rose that invests in eternity? Have I pushed you for an eternal investment? Have you pushed me? Have we together combined our forces for anything other than, our own enjoyment? Yeah. And I think that's what this podcast is in a sense. It's you and I going, okay, hey, we don't have any more time in our days to really just fart around.
Sure.
But to set aside a couple hours every week to talk about the things of God and try to make them applicable for ourselves and for our listeners, that is one way to invest our friendship in eternity. Yeah. And it's not that everybody that's listening to this has to go have a podcast with their friend.
Sure.
But like, how can your friendships actually build each other up beyond just this earthly life? One, for my friends who aren't believers, it's a constant motivation. I don't want to spend eternity without them.
Right.
For my friends who are believers, man, I want us to be able to celebrate for all of eternity the things you and I got to do together with our limited amount of time and talent and treasure and testimony. that actually carried over into
made a
eternity.
difference. Yeah.
Like, we talk about going on missions trips, and I mean, I think about some of those kids that we just ministered to and played with in Africa. We may never see them again this side of the grave, but me, you, and those kids, we can be dancing together in heaven because we all have the same Savior. And you and I went on that trip together, and it was an encouragement to go with other people but it was also encouraging to see other people take the same step I'm trying to take. Yeah. And so I look at that as like an investment. And now I know these illustrations I'm giving are like the average person's going, great. I'm listening to this on my on my earbuds, on my
right. I'm not going to start a podcast. I'm not going to Africa tomorrow. Yeah.
Like, what does that look like? But still, man, like you and I can get together and we can watch a movie, and yet we can still encourage each other in our conversation, and I'm still trying to push you to be more of who God's created you to be.
For sure.
And hopefully you're pushing me to be more of who God's created me to be. And we can do that even in breaking down a dumb movie we watched.
Absolutely.
Or, hanging out together at a restaurant, grabbing a meal. And that, by the way, doesn't mean that every conversation we have is about the Bible.
No. We can also
we
be regular people.
Oh, heck yeah. And then, and I think that's fun to take everyday things, whether it's how the Red Sox are playing, and sometimes it looks like right now they're great, and then they suck the next day. It's
so hard to tell.
It's like they're doing so good, and then we suck again. But like we can take that and just talk about it, and it be nothing. And at the same time, our hearts are open to. We can then shift it into, man, what's God doing in your life? And it's just a fun way to invest in something bigger, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I think actually one of the things that came to my mind when I was thinking of investing in relationships or whatever, paired with the idea of like red flags that I'm doing things on my own strength, would be that if I'm in conversations with a friend or whoever, and if I find myself pointing them more toward me as a solution than to Jesus, then I'm wasting both of our time and I'm clearly functioning on my own strength. Whereas like if I'm really following Jesus and like being empowered by the Spirit, any conversation we have, if you're struggling or if you're having a great day, or if, I'm talking to my friend and her husband is, she's having a hard time in marriage, whatever, like all of those are opportunities for me to say like, hey, what does the Bible say about this? What does God have to say about this? Not me. You don't need my advice.
Oh, that's such a good word.
You need God, and we can talk about that together, and maybe I know a verse you don't know, or maybe you just needed me to remind you to talk to God about that, or whatever. It works itself out in a lot of different ways, but and then I know, this was a conversation with eternal value, Because if all I'm doing is pointing you back to me, I'm going to let you down big time at some point, and I can't carry all that weight anyway. And also, I'm going to die someday, I cannot, just logistically, I can't be your answer forever.
Oh, I was telling that to one of our pastors. I was like, dude, don't feel like you have to go in and give everybody counsel from the depths of your wisdom well.
Yes.
I often tell people it doesn't matter what I think.
Yeah.
Here's what the Bible says.
Right.
And then you get mad at God, you can get mad at the Bible, and you can get mad at me, but I wasn't giving you my opinion. I don't want you to base your big decision on my opinion. I mean, I'm happy to speak some wisdom from my limited amount that I have, but please take that with a grain of salt. What I would rather do is share with you what the Bible has said and what God might have opened up to me in His Word, and then you can pray over that yourself. Yeah. But I think you said this like, I depend on giving you the right answer. I gave a quote in the message, and I really wanted to hear your thought on it. And I literally was like, I can't wait to talk to Katie about this. So I was saving this for the podcast. I quoted Bill McDermott in there, and he's for people who don't know him, he's a CEO and pretty smart guy, built a great company. But he wrote a book where he talked about learning to rely more on God, and his whole makeup, and I think all of us in our sin nature, our default setting is let me protect me, let me take care of me, let me be the one that wins the battle, that gets the thing. He said a phrase, and he said, I wore self-reliance like an armor. And then he went on to describe how like he had to come to the end of himself before he would ever acknowledge that he needed to rely on God more than himself. But the way he wrote it, and the way I pictured the CEO of this company just trying to protect himself by having all the answers. It didn't make me hate him. It made me sympathize with him. I was like, how often do I do that?
So relatable, yeah.
Where self-reliance is the way I protect myself, right? And he was talking about it, I think, primarily in business, but I would imagine if we had him here today, he might say it was in more areas than one. How do you see that for you or for maybe our average listener? Because the greed, the selfishness, the my opinion, my answer, it all comes back to a sense of pride where I do protect me and I do know better than God and I do know better than everybody else. And that's why I deserve to be the one who has the plan. Where does that come out maybe in a more modern day application or a more New England average listener to this podcast kind of application? Where is self-reliance an armor that they may not even realize they're doing it, or how or why are they protecting themselves that way? I don't know which way your brain goes when you hear that.
Yeah, I think the first thing that came to mind as you were talking for me was impatience. Is the armor that I often put on, like, I don't trust God enough to wait to know what his direction is. You know, you use Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 this weekend. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. He'll show you which path to take. Don't lean on your own understanding. But I don't want to wait to be shown which path to take. So I'm gonna keep rolling. I'm gonna keep making choices without ever checking in on God. And I think this applies to every area of life. I think maybe, I mean, you hit on finances a bit. That's one I think a lot of people fall prey to. I know I do. I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna just, I'll have some savings, maybe hopefully a retirement. I'm gonna spend my money the way I want to spend my money. God's not part of this. Like, I got a surprise bonus check. What does that have to do with God? This is free money for me that I get to spend the way that I want. And same with time. Even literally yesterday sitting in church, I had a random free Sunday afternoon, which I can't remember the last time that happened.
Yeah.
It had not occurred to me to ask God how I should use it. I was like, ooh, I've got ideas. I can come up, and I'm not willing to take the time to stop and say, God, what do you want from me? Is there a way that this time could be used? And maybe even your idea for me, God, is the same as my own, which is to go home and sit on my couch and rest because I'm tired. But let me stop and check. But I'm not willing to take the time. I'm going to just move on forward and make my own calls because I'm in charge. I've got the ideas. I know everything anyway.
That's really good.
Who would I need to reference?
Yeah, how quickly do we do that? Impatience, man, I didn't even think of that answer. That's really, really good.
What about you?
Oh, I mean, like I already said, mine, like my frustration. And I have that righteous indignation, right? Like I am frustrated at the things that are evil. Right. And that's why it's okay.
Yeah, I should be frustrated at this.
Yeah, like I'm freaking Batman or something. Like this world is dark and I'm the only one who sees the evil.
I'm not wearing hockey pants.
I even think in us joking about that, there is that hero complex, savior complex that people describe.
Warrior for justice.
Right. My armor being that if I can point out all of the evil that's around me, I don't know if this is going to make sense to you. I feel like there's a listener this is going to be so true for them because it's me and Arby. If I can point out everything that's wrong, I can beat you to it. And maybe we don't have to talk about what's wrong with me. Yeah. Right?
Let's focus everywhere else.
Yeah, let me. There's a lot of things wrong. Have you listened to the news lately?
Yeah.
Did you see what
things
that guy?
Are bad, but not me.
Not me bad. Like don't listen to look at me bad.
This stuff is bad.
Like how many people at that Coldplay concert were having an affair? Right.
Probably many. Yeah.
Let's look at that guy. Sucks. He's the worst.
Literally get the jumbotron on them. So we don't have to look at me.
You just put that over there. Put kiss cam on everybody else so that we're not looking at my sin. And I think that's where everybody has a way to armor themselves. And my self-reliance is I don't ever have to answer to a problem, right? I protect myself. I armor myself by being the quickest to find something wrong. Because now there's a game you and I play. I don't know if other people play this, but there's several games like it, like Mafia or Chameleon. And you're trying to figure out who in the group is the fake. Yeah. There is a strategy that you'll see people adapt where let me be the first to accuse. And so it puts all the focus over there and just take it off of me.
Don't even look at me. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you got to be careful because if you do it too much and people are like, you're always accusing. But man, I would rather get somebody else on their heels. And you and I played sports. Sometimes they say, hey, the best offense is a great defense, or the best defense is a good offense, right? Sure. Like I don't have to worry about defending my goal
if I just go hard enough in the other direction.
I've always got you on your heels. So whichever way you want to look at this coin, I think sometimes we default to that. So maybe self-reliance in some of these people that are listening to the podcast, and myself included. Maybe our negative outlook and our quick to find fault is simply because we're trying to protect ourselves from anybody finding fault in us.
Yeah, tough.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I think I put those walls up less in a finding fault way and more in, I can almost do it in like an optimistic way of like, well, nothing's wrong.
Well,
there are bad things, but that's not.
Well, I think that's
not focus on that.
I think that's a little bit what self-deprecating is.
Yeah.
Except for like, I already know that there's things wrong, and rather than say that something else is wrong, I'll be the first to say what's wrong with me, just so you can't say it.
Yeah. Let me reject myself before you can reject me.
Let me pre-reject.
Yep. And then we're all on the same page. Yes.
Well, I had a friend that was talking about trying to, go, on a date with this girl that he was excited about, but he's like, it's just going to suck, and she's not going to be interested. And I'm like, dude, why are you coming with all the reasons
with that attitude?
Why are you coming with all the reasons that the date's going to fail? You haven't even gone on the date yet. And he was just preemptively planning his own demise so that he wouldn't be surprised when it happened. And I'm like, I think you're protecting yourself, but you're actually causing yourself to miss out on a lot.
Right. Yeah. And it's just fear at the end of the day, right? Like we're just.
Yeah. Who wants to go on a date with that droopy guy? I don't know if you remember that cartoon, the dog that's always like, who wants to go on a date with a guy who just shows up like, I suck, I'm the worst.
Yeah.
You hate me. Yeah. Like, Eeyore. Like, dude, what's up with that, man? Like you think you're defending yourself by assuming everything is the worst, and yet you're actually portraying the completely
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good point.
Well, on the more hopeful side of this, we're
going to be optimistic on this podcast?
Or maybe just find some solutions. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to throw this out there because I couldn't stop thinking about it. If I had preached this message, thank the good Lord that I didn't.
Oh no, come on!
Nobody wants that from me.
I love the start.
But all I could think about toward the end, when you were kind of talking about like getting on the right path and trying to be fueled by the Spirit, not do things on our own strength, how God has so many more grapes than we could ever try to get for ourselves anyway if we would just trust Him. But you were talking about cleaning up the flour, and how like, hey, if you find that you've already messed up and there's already a mess all around you, like God will do the cleanup. It's not even on you. You just got to come to Him. But all I could think about, and I think I'm probably going too far with the metaphor here, but I couldn't help it. Okay. But like the fact that it's flour, I was just like, all I could think about was not only will God clean it up, He will bake it into something totally new. He doesn't just clean up, like He transforms us entirely, which was kind of where the message started anyway. It was like, in the hands of God, you're not just a mess that's been cleaned up. You're a new creation. Like He's got so much better than what you imagined. Like it's not just a bunch of flour piled back on a plate semi-neatly. He's like, man, He's got this beautiful baked good that could be your life.
That's a good word, Katie, because isn't that the heart of Romans 8:28? That He takes all things and works them together for good to those who love Him and are called to His purpose. I mean, like transforming into something better. For God to take the spilled, and when I was thinking about the flour, I had a conversation on the patio with a guy after I preached it the very first time, and he was like, "Hey, my marriage is fastly heading towards a divorce." I had another person come up and say, "Hey, my kids are not talking to me and haven't talked to me in a long time." And I think how many of us have a version of spilt flour, right? But isn't that what a testimony is?
Yeah.
A testimony is, man, my story once I put it in God's hands. My story left to my own devices is a tale of spilt flour making a mess everywhere.
It's a bummer.
That same spilt flour put in Jesus' hands is this beautiful cake, bread, whatever you want, whatever your flour metaphor works.
Yeah, maybe you're a muffin guy.
Yeah, but it's God taking it, to your point, and turning it into something good. Yeah. And the story is, it could have just stayed a messed up pile of flour, but put in the Master's hands, man, it's so much better. And that's what I want for my life. I can't go back and unspill the flour, Katie. Right. Neither can you. Our listeners can't.
Yeah.
But man, you and I have seen it, and part of our testimonies is this. But we get to see in our job so often the cupcakes, the beautiful, loaf of bread that God has made out of somebody's mess.
Yeah.
And man, that I don't know that enough people think about it, because if you're sitting there staring at a mess that you've made, you can't envision a beautiful birthday cake coming out of that.
Yeah, when you're in
like,
it, it's so hard to
you're
believe.
like, I've screwed up, and it'll never not be screwed up, right? Like it'll always be a mess. It'll always be my fault. And that's where that's the reason a testimony works, is because there's a product, and when somebody comes up and goes, man, how'd you get that beautiful cake? You're like, let me tell you about a pile of flour.
Yeah.
That God took and did something. Like, man, let me tell you about what it was and where we're going.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean for people listening that you have to have your life all together right now in order to have a testimony.
Yeah.
But it does mean you get to put the mess in God's hand and actually start to trust
and
Him.
watch what He does, and it's always so much more.
There was a clip, and we didn't show all of it. We could only show a couple minutes of the whole episode. But there was a clip where one of the contestants is trying to clean up, and it actually spills more flour onto their outfit. And I just laughed every single time we watched it, going like, that is so me trying to clean up my own mess.
Yeah, you just make more of a mess of it. Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you stepped in it, right, with a friend or with, I don't know, a habit you're trying to break, and you just doubled down and made it worse, and you're like, God, the more I touch this, the more I try to,
the messier it gets.
I try to be the fixer. Like it just goes everywhere, and they look like kids trying to clean up, because then it was on the table, then it's on the floor, then it's on their clothes.
It all up, and it
was horrible. It's horrible. And if you can't look at that and quickly see the parallels to you and I, man, what a great reminder that we are not as good as we would like to be, but we have a God who is great and can fix all of our screw ups.
Ain't that the truth? And there's so much hope. All right, on to week 3 next.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, the games even get better, too.
They are fun,
This is so much fun.
I'm really looking forward to it. And we got a tight race right now for our contestants.
Yeah.
Jess has 1 win. Kathy has 1 win.
Oh, yeah. I know who wins this week, and it's... I don't want to say it's neither of them, but it's neither of them. So it's going to be a 3-way tie real soon.
It's going to be a good leaderboard, yes. I'd also like to go on record real quick. Kathy Mealy, our contestant who won this week, genuinely thought that we fixed the results because we felt so bad for her. And I'd like to be clear that was not the case.
I was surprised because it looks like on the clips that we showed, she made one of the biggest messes.
Yep, but she cleaned it up the best.
Okay.
She got it all out of the bowl. She didn't get any off the table, so she was able to scoop it all back on. It was a tight race. It was like tenths of ounces, but she did win. And I do love Kathy Mealy, but not enough to lie to our entire church. So I just want to.
Well, mad props, Kathy, for a clean win.
A clean win, an honest victory.
Okay. All right.
And we'll see who's next.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Next week's going to be fun.
It's going to be good. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Have a good one.